conservatives didn't have an artist that maybe they liked, so instead of just saying, okay, not our day, let's go do something else.
Please like, subscribe, and share. MAGA conservatives are once again outraged and spiraling. We're going to check out some clips from Abby Phillip's show, reacting to the Super Bowl, which has them clutching their pearls like usual. I'll walk through the panel discussion and share my take as we go. Let's dive in.
Conservatives complained about the choice of Bad Bunny as the performer, and President Trump predictably says he was not impressed. He called it, quote, absolutely terrible, one of the worst ever, and an affront to American greatness. But you didn't hear Bad Bunny mention ICE. He didn't mention immigration. Instead, he celebrated his Puerto Rican roots. And he ended the show by marching out to a parade of flags with these words on the big screen. The only thing more powerful than hate is love. Now, before spiking the football at the end, with these 4 words emblazoned on it, it said, together we are America. Well, heartwarming, right? I don't know. I mean, I guess this whole thing has been perplexing to me. I mean, conservatives, I'm sure they don't like a lot of the halftime performers, but popular music is popular music. And if you don't like it, just go watch something else.
Yeah, there
don't complain about it.
Plenty of things you could be doing instead. I didn't find it super objectionable in comparison to previous halftime shows. It was pretty much equal level of outrage, except there wasn't any outrage, if you want to call, provocative dancing. That was probably the maximum that you could really muster. As far as the America is not great criticism from Trump, maybe he took the Bad Bunny line about, everything is America, or, God bless America, and then he lists like all of the Latin American and Central American countries. But honestly, I don't think that's objectionable either, because I think what that is just a unifying message. And I think most Americans just took it at its artistic performance value, which was family-friendly, actually family-focused.
There was a wedding that happened.
One of the biggest performers in the world. 3 of the top 10 songs are his. He's an incredible international performer. America, he's a part of America, right? He's Puerto Rican. He's a part of America. This was an opportunity to introduce that part of the culture to a lot of people who never saw it before. I think he did it in a phenomenal way. He made sure the background of Puerto Rico was displayed. It was a chance for us to learn about America and our fellow Americans, and it really should be no controversy.
I mean, first of all, it was really just a fantastic show.
Oh, I was so happy.
It was like watching a movie set, as he moved through the entire show. But we also are having all of this anxiety about whether or not it was American. We've had U2, we've had Celine Dion, we've had Coldplay. We've had a lot of international acts with people who literally were not Americans, and nobody cares.
I think 2 things are true at the same time. Number one, I think the conservatives, some of whom are saying this was the worst thing in the world, including the president, I completely disagree. It wasn't the worst thing. It's also not the best Super Bowl halftime show we've ever seen. Some of the praise of it has been over the top to also make political points. And, to your point, there were a lot of people who did leave and didn't watch. They watched Kid Rock, which was also something that was happening at the time. They competed really well, I think, given it was a YouTube-only event. And Kid Rock was mocked, and conservatives were mocked for doing that. So they did do what you said.
It was bad lip syncing.
Only because it was kind of like,
it was a response.
The conservatives didn't have an artist that maybe they liked, so instead of just saying, okay, not our day, let's go do something else. There's a lot of insulting happening of the Super Bowl. Jake Paul says, turn off this halftime show, or a fake American citizen performing who publicly hates America. I cannot support that. Kid Rock, this is today. Here's what he said about the Super Bowl halftime production.
Nothing against Jay-Z. I respect him for his hustle and his music, but it seems like there's a little bit of a DEI hire there going on,
I don't know. I mean, that's the stuff.
And that's not it can't be about his music.
I mean, I mean, if you want to put DEI on the table, right? If this is about merit, I mean, Jay-Z and his career runs laps around Kid Rock.
Oh, yeah.
So what are we even talking about here?
And
It
even album
seems
sales.
like cultural resentment, and it doesn't seem
Well,
necessary.
it's the reactionary culture that I think is so insufferable to so many Americans. And if you want to really take the Kid Rock lyrics, you want to take the Bad Bunny lyrics, I mean, come on, it's like a whole nother level. And that's coming from a conservative who's like, this is outrageously
there was a
vulgar.
piece of Kid Rock's lyric where he's talking about underage girls that was highlighted a couple days ago.
And the thing about, you didn't have to speak Spanish to know what he was saying, right? And it was so joyful. It was so upbeat. It was so young kids and people getting married and, iconic.
But even if it wasn't, you don't like the music.
I didn't know what he was saying. I didn't hate the performance.
Even if it wasn't, you don't like the music, it doesn't make it un-American. One, America doesn't have a national language. language, right? And so if he spoke Spanish, he spoke Spanish. He's Puerto Rican, he speaks
However,
Spanish
but
to Puerto
it
Rican.
should be that
However, but
brought
imagine
people
being so
together.
bigoted that you think, I don't like this music, so it's un-American.
Right.
Well,
Imagine
I don't
being
think
so
he
bigoted
said.
that
I
you
don't think Bad Bunny set himself up for success, though. He tainted his future performance by his anti-ICE activism that nobody asked for.
Or he elevated his stature.
He set
Or he
himself up for
elevated
success by
himself.
being the
it's-
top-selling artist right now in the world. He has
But
3
that's why
songs in
so
the
many
top 10.
Americans, I think,
That's why
tuned
he was in the
out. They
Super Bowl.
tuned out because they anticipated an anti-law enforcement screed when they would have just
didn't
wanted a
happen.
performance,
He
which
had-
didn't happen.
Which didn't happen.
You're right,
So
but that's why you
the-
don't
why
use
the
that stage
continued
for that.
hatred of him.
And they had
And by the
great
way,
radio.
Kid Rock,
No,
Kid-
honestly,
it
Kid
didn't
Rock
happen.
just did an
I was
anti-woke screed, right? Right when they
Yes,
had the
and
conversation.
he's getting criticized by the left
You
for
were
it.
Because the
saying-
artists
you
are
were
able
saying
to-
that there
ought to be able to
is
say what they
cringe.
want.
resentment.
Both are
What do you
cringe.
mean by
I
that?
think the left has had control over entertainment for a while, and we just haven't seen conservative values at this, exposed to the same level. We just haven't. And part of that is, outside of country music, you don't have a whole lot of outspoken conservatives in media. We just don't have in entertainment media. We don't.
But
And I
isn't
think
that like if you win, you win. If you lose, you lose.
No, I
Like,
think it's
I mean, if
it's an
conservatives are
acknowledgement.
not as successful as liberals, that's just the
Well,
market.
no,
speaking.
I think what we've heard.
You don't think that's the market
No,
speaking?
I don't, because I think what we
This is exactly the point Abby Phillip was making, and one I agree with. What's funny is that right-wingers always claim to support the free market, saying, let the market decide. But they clearly don't mean it. Take Jason Rantz, easily one of the more irritating voices on Abby Phillip's CNN panels, right up there with Scott Jennings and Ben Ferguson. The reality is they're upset because people just don't like their views. Bad Bunny is hugely popular because audiences chose him. That's the free market at work. It's not about DEI, and even if it were, that alone wouldn't make someone a global superstar. What we're really seeing is MAGA figures lashing out because they're losing cultural relevance. They treat disagreement like oppression and seem to want to kind of reverse DEI, where their preferred artists get artificially boosted. But culture is shifting. The dominance of the old guard is fading, and their style of entertainment just doesn't resonate the same way anymore. That's the part they can't seem to accept.
finally came out and said, I'm not comfortable speaking out as a conservative. And I think we have
Most
going on right
artists-
now with Nicki Minaj, who's getting
but
attacked over this very
artists
issue.
don't speak out about politics. They're
One way
they're
or the other.
successful.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
they're
agree.
successful
And liberals
on
Yeah,
their
that's the
fandom,
point.
on whether
And
people
Bad
love their
Bunny
music,
wasn't
whether
chosen
they
for
are
his
producing
politics.
things that are
Right.
good.
But there's
So
a
I mean, when
bullying
I don't believe that any artist should be judged on their politics. But if it is, in fact,
Depends
that
on the politics.
right-leaning artists are just simply not producing the art that people want to consume, isn't that just merit?
No,
Playing
because
itself
whether
out?
or not someone feels
'Cause they're not
comfortable
allowed to be
speaking
right.
out in
I'm
favor of
talking
their
about putting
conservative
aside.
values.
I'm talking about putting aside their
That's
on the
what-
music, on the art, on
we
the
think-
on the acting.
But do you think that there is closer to a 50-50 in artists who are conservative versus liberals, or do you think that
No, you're missing
know,
the point.
yeah.
Bad Bunny wasn't
They're
chosen
clearly not-
because of his politics. He was chosen because he's a good
He's
artist.
you.
He just
He's
happened.
you.
He may just happen to have views you don't agree with.
Oh, 100%.
That's nothing to do
Yeah,
with it.
but yes, I'm not,
He's talented.
no one here is
So you
saying
acknowledge
that.
he's
What his
talented,
point
right?
is,
And
of
of
course
course
he's
he's
talented.
talented.
I don't think he was chosen for his politics necessarily. I do think it was chosen in the context of the political world that we're now
I mean,
living in.
chosen for the Super Bowl specifically?
Yeah, you're
I'm
highlighting-
But I'm talking about the fact that he is one of the most, if not the most popular musician on the planet.
Right now.
That was before
Yeah,
he was talking about ICE, before he was talking about
Well, no,
any of
that's
this stuff.
yes, but they were also
Yes, it was-
concurrent because he. No, I'm sorry, he was
Bad
also
Bunny
going
has
after
been-
ICE. He's been
Bad-
going
hold
after
on,
ICE for a
before-
while.
This was before Donald Trump was president.
Yeah.
Before ICE, Bad Bunny was a massive music star
Yes.
globally.
Yes,
He brought
and
in
that has
hundreds
nothing to do
of
with
millions
the
of
guys.
dollars
he
to
got
Puerto
on the
Rico.
attention of conservatives who expressed some reservations was because of his political stances in a context in which conservative viewpoints generally not put on display.
You're right
in
that
media.
that's the reason that conservatives started paying attention to him. That is not the reason that he is a massive star.
Yeah,
He is a
no-
massive
no
star.
one- I don't know
And
anyone who's
you're
arguing
right. The reason he was actually chosen is because Roger Goodell wants the NFL to go global, and he wants to expand into the Latin America markets.
Bingo.
That's
There you
why,
go.
That's why
That's-
he's chosen.
that's
Capitalism.
Right.
Exactly. That's the contradiction. You hear Jason Rantz pushing this idea that everything should be 50-50? Like if artists such as Bad Bunny or Taylor Swift dominate because of popularity, there must be a conservative equivalent given equal attention. But that's not how capitalism or audience preference works. Conservatives often argue for a free market, yet when the results don't go their way, they want balance to be artificially enforced. The reality is, conservative media already has a massive presence. Look at outlets like Fox News and others. If conservative creators want more cultural influence, they can produce content and compete. If it resonates, it will succeed. But broadly speaking, that hasn't been the case. A big part of that comes down to the nature of art itself. Creative fields tend to attract people who challenge norms, explore new ideas, and push boundaries. That naturally leans more frustration that their preferred voices aren't connecting with a wider audience. At the end of the day, people choose what they want to watch, listen to, and support. Like Abby Phillip said, if you don't like it, change the channel. But for some, that's not enough. They don't just want a seat at the table, they want guaranteed relevance, even if the audience isn't there. What do you think about the panel and this whole debate? Drop your thoughts below and don't forget to like and subscribe.